The Quarterly, Job and Proverbs. Lesson 3, Job 28. Where is wisdom found? Job 28 occurs in the middle of the third cycle of dialogues between Job and his friends. A cycle that seems to break down towards the end, with only a short speech this time from Bildad and none at all from Zophar, although scholars have suggested attributing additional parts of the text to them. Meanwhile, Job's speeches are growing longer and more frustrated at the unhelpful platitudes and condemnation from the mouths of his friends, culminating in the outburst of Job 27, 5-6. Far be it from me to say that you are right. Till I die, I will not put away my integrity from me. I hold fast my righteousness and will not let it go. My heart does not reproach me for any of my days. Job feels that not only have his friends not spoken wisdom, they haven't really engaged with him as a person at all. They've simply tried to force his unique situation into their cookie-cutter view of the world. If this were where the book of Job came to an end, everyone would be deeply unsatisfied. But it's precisely at this point in the drama that the positive contribution of the book begins to take shape, in the form of the hymn to wisdom in Job 28, and the emergence of a new character, Elihu, who will take the stage and address Job in chapters 32 to 37. Finally, a new and genuine wisdom is starting to emerge that will leave Job, if not answered, at least quietened before the face of the Almighty. And where is this wisdom to be found, and who but the Almighty can truly comprehend it? The poem that makes up chapter 28 is structured around and provides the answer to the question as to where wisdom may be found, and from where, or from whom, it comes. See Job 28:12 and 20. The theme of the hiddenness of wisdom has occurred throughout Job's dialogues with his friends, as we saw in 11:7-9, for example. Job's friends have continued to speak with great confidence in their own insight into the concealed counsels of God, however. Here Job reflects on the reality of the hiddenness and complexity of God's holy purposes for his world. Some commentators have wanted to separate this poem from its surroundings and attribute it to the narrator of the book rather than to Job. But its teaching is in keeping with some of the observations that Job makes earlier, and there's no clear reason to deny that Job is the speaker in this chapter. Job first compares the search for wisdom to the complex and dangerous work of mining. Israel was not itself a significant mining area. Almost all of its gold, silver, and precious stones would have been imported, though there was small-scale copper mining in the south of Judah. But undoubtedly tales would have circulated of the difficulty by which such materials were gathered, and the bravery of the men who undertook that work. In order to retrieve the valuable silver, gold, iron, and copper ore, men had to sink shafts into the ground, either vertically or horizontally, often in remote and desolate areas, for example the copper mines of the Sinai Peninsula. They had to carry flickering lamps to shed light into the gloom and darkness of the shaft. And sometimes they had to hang suspended on ropes to reach the precious metal. Their work involved descending to the very roots of the mountains and damming up underground watercourses as they went, taking their lives into their hands daily. The most far-seeing of birds, the falcon, has not gazed upon their workplace, nor does the bravest of the beasts venture there. Only humans cut through the hardest of rocks in search of precious stones and ores, constantly bringing hidden things to light. Such endeavors take wisdom of a kind, the same kind of skillful living that enables others to make beautiful objects to furnish the tabernacle, or to judge people with fairness and equity. All of these skills may be called wisdom, for they involve understanding the God-given order of the universe and living in line with it. Yet precious though such skillful living is in subduing the natural world, especially in terms of the valuable objects it produces for mankind, enabling humans literally to turn the earth into bread, that is, making a living from the dirt, it cannot match the truest and deepest forms of wisdom in this world. Most human beings don't value wisdom properly, which is why they will go to the ends of the earth in pursuit of gold or sapphires, but not even cross the street to search out wisdom. Verse 13. It should be the reverse. We should all search for wisdom as if it were buried treasure, as Proverbs 2 reminds us, and have far less interest in the treasures of this world. In reality, wisdom is far harder to find than gemstones and precious metals. It's not located in the depths of the sea, verse 14, from where come pearls or coral, along with the sea snails that were harvested in antiquity for their costly purple dye. Indeed, wisdom cannot be purchased for any amount of earthly treasure, not topaz or onyx or lapis lazuli. ESV has sapphire in verses 16 to 19. Not even the finest gold brought all the way from Ophir, in verse 16. The location of Ophir is uncertain, but it was accessed through the Red Sea port of Ezion-Geber, 1 Kings 9, 26 to 28, so a location in Africa or perhaps even India is most probable. This kind of wisdom is not just hidden from the birds of the air and the beasts of the field, as the sources of precious minerals and jewels were. It's even hidden from the eyes of all the living, including humans, verse 21. Abaddon, which means destruction, and death, verse 22, are personifications of the grave or Sheol, the underworld where the spirits of the unrighteous dead were believed to go. Here they represent the deepest, darkest recesses of the earth, somewhere far deeper than any human mining operations could ever reach. In comparison to Abaddon and Moat, miners quite literally merely scratch the surface of the earth. But even Abaddon and Moat have not seen wisdom in person. They've simply heard unconfirmed rumors about its existence. Verse 22. But if wisdom is so inaccessible that even a search of the most reclusive parts of the globe will not uncover it, how are mere humans ever expected to attain it? The answer is that wisdom and understanding come from God. Again, see Proverbs 2. If God has created the order of all things, then he alone is all wisdom. Indeed, wisdom is itself the order by which the Lord created all things, as Proverbs 8 reminds us. God understands the way of wisdom, and he knows the place it inhabits, verse 23, because he himself is the way of wisdom. He alone knows true wisdom because he alone created all things, giving the wind its weight, measuring out the waters and the seas, and ordering the thunder and lightning in mighty storms, verses 25 and 26. He not only sees all things that exist, he brought them into existence, verse 27. So for man to try to pursue wisdom without reference to God is the height of folly, especially since God himself has revealed the essence of true wisdom, which is the fear of the Lord. Verse 28, of course, referencing Proverbs 1:7. He said to man, in verse 29, is the only speech from God that breaks into the cycles of frustrating human argument between Job and his friends. And it's significant that when God speaks, he informs us where true wisdom is to be found, in the fear of the Lord. And yet the fear of the Lord is not merely some kind of intellectual apprehension of God's power and his creative ability. A true understanding of God also requires a profound moral response of turning away from evil. Verse 28, for which we could compare Proverbs 3:7. But even when undertaken with the fear of the Lord, and accompanied by a turning away from evil, the pursuit of wisdom still has its limitations for human beings. There's an element of inevitable mystery that is present in all human attempts to mine into God's purposes and uncover their deepest goals. No matter how much we know of God and of his ways, there will always be a great deal that we do not know about his purposes in this world. Even as the wisest man in all history views the wonders of God's creation, he is left confessing with Job, "Behold, these are but the outskirts of his ways, and how small a whisper do we hear of him? But the thunder of his power, who can understand?" Job 26:14. Our God is truly beyond knowledge, and yet in Christ he has come near to know us. Application questions. 1. Why is wisdom so hard to find? 2. What do people in the modern world most value? 3. How can we find the wisdom to live skillfully in this world? 4. How does Jesus show us what true wisdom looks like?